I would like to kind of relive the draft day for you and what that was like back in 1986, being drafted number one overall. Not many people get to say that, and so relive that moment for us a little bit.
Well, yeah, it was so long ago. You know what I remember most is over the years looking at the pictures from
Hmm.
when that happened, and it was at my parents' house, and um, gosh, was I married then? I think I was engaged.
Hmm.
So my future wife was there. It was very exciting, very, very exciting. And, there some of the, I suppose, suspense maybe was out of it a little bit, just from all the chatter going into that day. So I kind of knew or figured I would be, one of the top picks. But it was quite an honor, very, very exciting. And another interesting story from that time was soon thereafter, a scout flew out to sign me, and I actually was in the batting cage in Colorado Springs, and I rolled my ankle really bad. And so the funny thing was when he showed up, we were going out to breakfast or something, and I tried to go behind him, and I mean, I was hobbling, I was hurt really bad, but didn't want him to know that. So that
Of
was
course. That's great. In 1986, things are so much different than they are now with the big TV show and the productions. And, if it wasn't COVID-19 right now, they'd have players in studio. Did you get a
yeah.
phone call? How did that all go down in 1986?
I'm sure it was a phone call. I mean, I don't think Zoom or FaceTime or anything like that was around back then.
Hmm.
And you're right. I'm kind of out of the loop, but even like being in the College World Series, you look at it now and it's a pretty big production. When I was there and played in, I don't know if it was 84 or
Hmm.
five, was, it was kind of a big deal for the players and that, but it was not at the same level.
Hmm. How
And
long?
in fact, I didn't even know that they did all that. I thought they only did that, what you were talking about as far as having players in and on TV. I thought that was maybe only football or
Hmm.
basketball. So
Yeah,
that's,
they do it for baseball, which is pretty cool. But what is this? How life changing is this moment for these young college kids and fulfilling a dream? And again, Heston Kjerstad could uh, be a top 10 pick, predicted to be a top 10 pick.
well, everything's all relative, I mean, the signing money now is, substantially more than, but, in my time, that was a lot of money. So I guess it's kind of all relative, but so that could, I think, I'm sure now, being a number one draft pick, the money involved, kind of almost sets you up for life where it probably didn't back in the 1980s,
Hmm.
right? But it's exciting to me. I always like to kind of fly under the radar,
Hmm.
and I was kind of able to do that at the University of Arkansas for several years anyway. But once there is it can put a lot of pressure on a player to be a number one draft pick, and everybody knows how much money, now probably millions of dollars. I don't even know. I'm
Hmm.
guessing, but so that can add a little bit of pressure being a
Hmm.
number one pick, and wish well.
Hmm. Arkansas has 8 players in the history of the program that have gone in the first round. You're the only one who has been that number one overall pick, and that will always be until it gets tied. Uh, yours and yours alone. What is that feeling like?
Well, it's quite an honor, totally, and I just feel like the Lord really blessed me, and just kind of made my path straight, and it went through Fayetteville. I didn't know it at the time. It was a perfect place for me, and perfect coaches that allowed a freshman to come in and play right off the get go, or at least have the opportunity to play. In fact, I just saw Norm DeBryan for the first time recently at uh, Oh, I was inducted into the
Mhm.
Southwest Conference Hall of Fame, and I
Mhm.
hadn't seen him for years and years. But probably even back then, it might have not been normal for a freshman to come right in and be able to compete for playing time, let alone
Mhm.
start all the time. And so I thank Coach DeBryan a lot for that opportunity, and just everything worked out great.
Mhm. Looking back on your 11 years in the major leagues, how fond are you of those 11 years in the career you were able to build?
Well, once again, just very thankful. I mean, I was drafted by the Pirates, and for me, like I said, I tried to fly under the radar. That was kind of hard to do. But the manager, for whatever reason, he liked me, and he kept giving me the chance, and he kept running me out there, and I finally, after a few years, did well enough to feel like, hey, I belong here, and had a good career. I'm very thankful.
You played under Norm DeBryan, as you mentioned, and how he was able to kind of build this Arkansas program. Dave Van Horn takes over, and what he's been able to do with the program. How nice is it to see, as an alum of the program, to see it on the national stage and one of the top programs in the country right now?
Yeah, that's really really great. I one reason I went there was because the old Southwest Conference. It was the one of the premier conferences in the country, and that was important for developing my baseball career, and to see them still doing very well. Yeah, it sounds to me like they're still one of the
Mhm.
elite programs in the country, so that's great.
Mhm. And lastly, I just want to ask you what you've been up to since retirement, and what are some things that you do?
Well, I when I retired, I had bought a cattle ranch, and I learned the
Mhm.
cattle business and ran a 400 mother cow ranch for 8 or 10 years.
Mhm.
And my wife and I, we've have 7 kids,
Wow.
and it just seemed like yesterday that not any of them would leave the house, and now I'm going to have 5 grandkids here, or actually I'm going to have
Mhm.
6 here in another few months. So
Nice.
life is good.
Well, that's good, and I'm glad we were able to catch up with you. We appreciate the time, Mr. King. Thank you.
You bet.